Yeah, I really hope that Kudalaba can bring back the green war paint for the
That was
aforementioned
hilarious.
Hulk. He's only done that it's been a year since he's done that, but you could at least rely on him to scream at the other guy at weigh-ins.
Yeah.
That is super reliable to do. There it is against Cannoneer. I believe that was the last time.
Hello and welcome to Monkey Knife Fight Live, folks. I'm Connor Rowntree. Today we're joined back. I'm so happy to see his face again. It's been so long. AJ, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm super thrilled to be here, Connor. It's very nice to see you and be speaking with Jason as well. I felt like a lost man without UFC last Saturday. Of course, there was football to look forward to, but it just didn't feel the same. So now we got right back into the swing of things, a nice little 15 fight night card. And looking forward to breaking it down with you from a Monkey Knife Fight perspective.
Well, let's get right into it. I mean, we got the Superman Spann, one of Dana White's Contender Series alums versus the Lionheart. We were just talking about it, and there couldn't be a better nickname for Anthony Smith. And let's just get right into this one. Obviously, Monkey Knife Fight the Lions, 64.5 strikes. Ryan Spann coming in at 38.5. I'm going to take the more and the more off that, get right into it before I even break it down, because I think there's going to be a lot of punches thrown to the face. Anthony Smith absorbs a ton, and I think he's going to be able to eat Spann's power. I think Spann's going to tire out, and then Smith's going to pour it on in the later, maybe the second or the third round. So I'm actually leaning towards Anthony Smith in this one, just based off of the heart he showed against Jimmy Crute. Going into that Jimmy Crute fight, I thought he was finished. I thought Jimmy Crute was going to piece him up. I thought it was going to be over. I thought it was going to be a Glover Teixeira repeat, like, oh, ref, please stop this fight. And no, he goes out and does what he does. And I just don't think that Ryan Spann will be able to get him out of there based off of his ability to eat those shots. And then I think Ryan Spann, from what I've seen on tape, the cardio isn't there past that 7.5-minute threshold. And that's where I think Anthony Smith just turns this up and starts to land a flurry of strikes. AJ, how do you see the main event going?
I think your process makes a ton of sense. But when I was looking at the statistics before we got on, both guys have actually the vast majority of the time gone under both of those strike counts throughout their UFC careers. And, of course, this is total strikes, not significant strikes, which implies, to rack up more total strikes, it would become clinch exchanges, ground control, from bottom position. I do think that there's some merit to Spann maybe taking Smith down and maybe doing some damage from the top position. I do think that Smith could survive as a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu from his back. But again, the metrics say otherwise. I know that there's a lot of credence to Smith's toughness and his heart, but I don't know if I could say that Spann's durability in his, defense is as good as Smith's. I do think that Smith has a pretty clear advantage in the stand-up realm. Spann a couple of fights ago got knocked out by Johnny Walker. I just don't think that he has the best head movement. He was even knocked out by Sam Alvey. So whether it's Smith getting an early finish or just the general pace of this fight being a bit slower, or just Spann even finishing Smith, I do think that one way or another, we could see both these guys go less and less on both of their strike counts. And that's how I think it's going to go.
How do you see the fight finishing? How do you see this coming down to an end here? Because, I think it's going to be a finish for the Lionheart. I think, as I said, I think he's going to pour it on after that 7.5-minute threshold and after Spann kind of runs out of gas. As we've seen, because, Superman, he likes to chase, he likes to go after that knockout. And I think we both now said it, like the durability of Anthony Lionheart Smith and that Jimmy Crute fight was crazy. And I like the fact that you mentioned the takedowns. I mean, he got taken down 3 times against Crute, pardon me. He got taken down 3 times against John Jones. He gets taken down quite a bit, but he does find his way back to his feet. How do you see this fight playing out?
Yeah, as Smith, historically a guy that's a very slow starter, he just generally, takes a beating early on, and then he could, weather that storm and then come on strong late if the opposition gets tired or they make a mistake. And I think we could see something similar happen here. I think Spann could have some early success. Potentially he'd land a takedown or two, get some top control time. But Smith should be able to survive, work his way back up to the feet, eventually get Spann maybe a little bit tired, as Smith is much more experienced in these 5-round fights against a higher level of opposition. So I definitely do think that there's some merit to that. So I think that Smith could get it done inside the distance. I'm going to say he gets it done inside the distance in round 3, as a guy that historically gets a lot of finishes as fights kind of go on. I know that he has some first round finishes in there, a la the Devin Clark fight, the Jim Crute fight most recently, but I'd be pretty surprised if, Spann injures his ankle like Crute did, or he's able to submit Spann from guard. Spann's a pretty strong guy from the top position. So I suppose he can knock him out on the feet, but I don't necessarily like to rely on that for a guy that lands only 3 significant strikes per minute in Anthony Smith. So I definitely think that he's more than capable of winning this fight. However, I'm just not as strong on that take because he is historically a guy that starts out a bit slow.
Yeah, I completely understand that. And I think that's why I was the slow starting, and the fact that he absorbs so many significant strikes. He absorbs over 4 significant strikes while landing just 3, right? So you never like to see that in a ratio. And I think that's why I was attracted to the more on the Ryan Spann line. Now, folks at home, this line has fluctuated quite a bit. It started out with Anthony Smith at 64.5 strikes. You see him up to 76.5 now. Ryan Spann started out at 38.5, and he's up to 45.5. So obviously the people are seeing something. They were with me for a bit there, but I think this is the point where if these lines go any higher, you have to take less just based off of, as AJ said before, it's the production. If you look at their numbers on like UFC stats, if you go to SheerDog, wherever you get your stats from, ESPN, whatever, these guys don't throw a ton of volume until they think that they're going to get the finish. Anthony Smith will stand there for 20 minutes and get punched in the face, sees the other guy's tired, and he's like, all right, I'm going to go now. And it bang, 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 bang. So I think if you watch, this is where I'm drawing the line. I like the more here. But if it goes any higher, you gotta take the less there. So folks at home, that's where I'm comfortable. AJ's going less and less for the obvious reasons. Yeah, you heard his breakdown there. So scroll down, hit submit, and you're in to win. Now our co-main event has a guy named the Hulk in it. That's always fun. Cutelaba is his nickname. What is it again, AJ? Not Ion. Ion?
E1.
E1 Cutelaba. Fun name, fun fighter. Make sure you watch the weigh-ins because he'll obviously probably yell or paint himself green or something will be up. He's taking on Devin Clark. AJ, let's throw this one to you first. How do you see this one going down?
Yeah, I really hope that Cutelaba could bring back the green war paint for the
that was hilarious.
Hulk. He's only done that, it's been years since he's done that, but you could at least rely on him to scream at the other guy at weigh-ins.
Yeah.
That is super reliable to do. There it is against Cannonier. I believe that was the last time. The way I see this fight is early versus late. Cutelaba is a guy that comes out very strong early on, very, very aggressive with a high pace, lands north of 5 significant strikes per minute. And I expect him to want to get in Clark's face. And, that's his style. Cutelaba either gets you out of there early, or if he's unsuccessful at finishing you, he tends to fatigue as the fight goes on. Of course, there's the Ankalaev fight in there. I don't really think that matchup is applicable here because Ankalaev is just such an excellent technical striker, specifically on the counter. Clark isn't very comfortable on the feet. That is my concern with Clark, because for him to win this fight, I think he has to go through a lot early on. Just a guy that has shown questionable durability in the past, just not very comfortable trading in the pocket. He was hurt by Spann before the finish. He was knocked out by Rakic, knocked out by Nicholson. I just trust Cutelaba much more in the stand-up realm as a guy that's much more comfortable taking that damage. And if Clark survives, kind of like he did against Alonzo Menfield, I absolutely think he could win this fight. He could get the clinch. He could even take Cutelaba down. If he's tired, he's the much more proven guy when the fight goes the scorecards in the UFC. As a matter of fact, he's undefeated in the UFC as Clark when fights do go the distance. And so when we look at the strike count here, I'm actually going to go with less and less because I do think that most likely we do see Cutelaba go out here, get a finish against Clark. And even if he is unsuccessful, there's a chance that the pace just slows significantly. Maybe there's just a lot of clinching. Clark is just basically concerned about holding on to Cutelaba for dear life. So I'm going to go with the less and less here and just see where the chips fall. I don't have a lot of conviction on Clark's durability, and Cutelaba will come after him early. So I think Cutelaba probably gets his hand raised here in a first round stoppage.
I like the breakdown, sir. I'm with you on it. Cutelaba, obviously, the last few fights against Ankalaev didn't look the greatest, but I think you hit the nail on the head. The level of competition there, Ankalaev is a future title challenger in my book. So he's the real deal. And I like less and less too. I actually have Cutelaba by the early knockout. I think he comes out of the gun fast. I think he comes out hard, and we've seen it before. And he's either going to get the knockout or probably get put away too. So yeah, I'm with you on the less and less in that one. You hit every one of my points that I'm looking at right now. I'm like, AJ got okay. Yeah, AJ, yeah. All right. AJ did my job for me on that one, folks. So when we're gonna make sure you hit the less and less, scroll down, hit submit, and you're in to win on Monkey Knife Fight for the co-main event. But folks, it's time for the Knockout Kings. The best part about Monkey Knife Fight Live, or well, not Monkey Knife Fight Live, just the best part about Monkey Knife Fight with the fights, every UFC card on Saturday night, it is $2,500. You select 3 fighters, a minimum $5 entry, and you're in to win your share of the $2,500. Well, it sounds like we both have a name in common, that we like Lionheart Smith to get a finish. Am I confident in saying that? Because that was one of my picks, AJ.
I do agree. I do think that Lionheart Smith is a solid candidate for the Knockout King. He's got a nice chance of winning inside the distance per the matchup and per the metrics, like we said. So I do agree with you there.
All right, I'm going to throw another name out here. Joaquin Buckley. 4 UFC fights, 2 wins by knockout, been knocked out twice. I don't know if he's going to win or lose, but there's going to be a knockout. He's fighting on Antonio Aro. I'm going with Joaquin Buckley in that one there. Averages just around 6 minutes of octagon time per fight. Comes out hard, much like Cutelaba, as we mentioned before. So I like Joaquin Buckley. AJ, how do you see that one going down?
I think Buckley has a couple different ways of getting the knockout. I think he could get a one-shot knockout early on, or maybe even get a mercy stoppage via TKO ground and pound, because Arroyo has bad defensive grappling and bad cardio. So Buckley isn't exactly a cardio machine, but I do trust his pace and cardio much more as the fight goes on. So I could definitely see him pouring it on Arroyo late, leading to a stoppage where the ref is just like basically enough. The only hesitation I have is that Arroyo hasn't been knocked out, but he still does not have good defense. Again, the range management tends to fall apart as he fatigues. And so I do definitely see a lot of potential with Buckley, especially because, as you mentioned, he has a reputation of being a big knockout artist. Yeah,
he really likes to chase those finishes, and that's why he's fun to watch, right? And that's what a lot of fans and us as analysts, like, we love that kind of stuff. AJ, I'm going to throw it to you now. 3rd and final pick for the Knockout Kings contest.
I'm going to go with a chalkier option, but an option I think is warranted here. I'm going to go with Montel Jackson. He's got a very strong chance of winning this fight inside the distance, a very talented prospect. Going up against JP Buys, who is coming off a loss to Bruno Silva, who got knocked out at flyweight. Now he's moving up to bantamweight. Jackson is a guy that has very heavy hands for the standards of this weight class. And you couple that with the fact that, Jackson's got an 8-inch reach advantage here. So, I think that Jackson should just be able to dominate this fight. I even think he could take Buys down and finish him with ground and pound, to be honest with you, because Buys has shown more than once that he does not have good cardio here. So, I do think that Jackson, just like Buckley, could go out there, get a one-shot KO, or even if he doesn't, he just gets on top of a gas Buys and just gets another, ground and pound stoppage, because the ref is basically just like no mas. So I like that.
No mas. Yeah, and then obviously we hit on the co-main event. We both had Cutelaba going for the finish in that one. So there's a little wild card pick for you on the sidelines there, just a 4th name to keep in mind. AJ, are there any other names in the Knockout King contest that the folks at home should keep an eye on?
Yeah, one more guy that sticks out to me, a little bit sneakier because the fight recently got announced, is Nicholas Mota here taking on a short notice replacement at Cameron Van Camp. Now, I would encourage the listeners to monitor the weigh-ins here, because Van Camp is a huge guy. He stands at 6'1", and he's going to be moving down 255 pounds as a former guy that weighed in heavier, and he's taking this fight on short notice. So again, this fight may or may not happen, but if it does, I like Mota's chances of getting a knockout, because to me, he's a much more polished striker. And he could go out here, and just like these other guys, we want to make sure that we have multiple avenues of doing so. He could win this fight with a one-shot counter strike knockout, because Van Camp, he doesn't have good striking defense. His hands are at his waist. His head is completely on the center line and his chin is high. Or he could just get a mercy stoppage again if the fight kind of carries on here. And Van Camp just has nothing left, because he, expended all of his energy in the early going, got tired because it's on short notice down a weight class, and then Mota's able to take over. So I definitely have my hesitations about Mota long-term. He's not specifically like a great grappler, I'd say. He's not particularly high volume, but for this matchup, I think this is one of the more favorable matchups you could give him. And I do think he has a legit chance to win this fight by KO.
There you go, folks. 5 picks actually for your Knockout Kings contest to monitor going into the weigh-ins this week. There you go. Scroll down, hit submit, and you're in to win. Remember, though, it is a $5 entry. Minimum $5 entries to get in to win your share of the $2,500 on Monkey Knife Fight. All right, AJ, what is your favorite play for this card on Monkey Knife Fight? Just straight up.
I'm going to go, if we could hone in on the fight between Jackson and Buys, please.
There we go. He likes something here.
I do. And I'm actually going to go less and less. I think this is a total mismatch of a fight. Montel Jackson, I think, just has Buys beat everywhere. I think that, Jackson probably goes out here and gets a quick finish. I don't see Buys being competitive at range with Jackson. Jackson should have his way with him there. And as we mentioned, he's also Jackson at one point, he was an Olympic hopeful wrestler, very strong guy. And when you watch him fight, he's very comfortable in the grappling realm. So I think that there's just a chance that Jackson dominates his fight on the ground, on the feet, anywhere he wants. And as a result, I do think that there's a strong chance that we see an early finish. And as a result, I think that he could just do it with one or two big shots and just end the thing. So I like the less and less here.
I'm so sorry for sneezing during that. Man, I was trying to hold it and I was like, yeah, I really like that. Chew. All right, folks. Yeah, the less and less. And remember, AJ talked about Montel Jackson in the Knockout Kings contest. So obviously that's a pick that he's zeroed in on quite closely. So folks, I'm pretty confident in that one in the less and less. AJ, or not AJ, pardon me. Jason, may you please take us over to the Kinzad and Pennington fight? Kinzade and Pennington. Perfect. So this is going to be a fun one. The strike lines are high. Pennington, she's a gamer. She's fought everybody there is to fight at that 135 weight class for the women's, whether it's been Holly Holm, Amanda Nunes. She's lost to both of them, but seemingly beats about everybody else. Kinzade lands over 5.5 significant strikes per minute. So I think she's going to pull the fight out of Pennington. I don't think there's going to be a finish in this one. So I like the more and the more on Monkey Knife Fight with the strikes. Remember, it's not even significant strikes. It's just strikes. And these girls, if they get in close as the fight goes on and Pennington wants to bring this to the ground, she could land a ton of strikes that way. We've seen Pennington land over 100 strikes her last fight out against Marion Renault. So I'm very, very confident in this one going more and more. AJ, any notes on that?
I like it, especially because of the metrics, as you pointed out. Penny Kianzad is coming off a fight against Alexis Davis, where she landed 124 significant strikes and then absorbed 132 significant strikes. We both think that this fight could play out on the feet for a good majority of 15 minutes and probably go the full way. And as a result, both ladies are very tough. Kianzad lands 5.71 significant strikes per minute on average. 49% accuracy. That means to me that she's attempting more than 11 significant strikes per minute. That's crazy high output. But on the flip side, absorbs 4.56 significant strikes per minute. Pennington is down to throw down on the feet, as evidenced by her last fight. She's aggressive. She'll come forward. She's very tough, as evidenced by going, into the 5th round with Amanda Nunes. So I definitely do think there's a lot of merit here to going over on both fronts here.
There you go, folks. The more and the more. That was my pick of the day on Monkey Knife Fight. Scroll down, hit submit, and you're in to win. AJ, any final notes about this card? And I mean, next week, we're back on pay-per-view, baby. Anything you want to preview for next week or any final notes on this card before we say goodbye to Monkey Knife Fight Live for the day?
Yeah, one final note, recent cancellation here before we got on. Dakota Push is actually out of this fight. With Rowntree. They actually found a late notice replacement. Name of the fighter, I believe his name is Brendan Jennings, heading over from PFL. Had a highlight reel knockout recently, so be on the lookout for them to officially swap those fighters in and out for your lineup. So be mindful of that. Not that I'm super interested in a knockout play there or anything, but segueing over to UFC 262. Guys, it's a great time to be a fight fan. We're coming off of a bye week, but we have fight night cards, cards in general, all the way up until Thanksgiving. We get started this week, and then we carry on the momentum over to the next UFC event, which is Valentina Shevchenko and Lauren Murphy for the women's flyweight title. Also, Brian Ortega versus Alexander Volkanovski.
There it is, baby.
For the featherweight title, 2 title fights, but you got the return of Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler. I mean, this card has a little bit of everything. Prospects, heavyweight fight, as Jason is showing us right here. Curtis Blaze versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I mean, you got Jessica Andrade versus Cynthia Calvillo. Marlon Moraes versus Merab Dvalishvili. Dan Hooker versus Nasrat Hakparas is on the prelims. I mean, you got fights on the prelims that belong on main cards. So, yeah, a truly spectacular pay-per-view event. Looking forward to this, as always.
Yeah, I'm excited for that main event, man. Obviously watching Tough. Oh, Brian Ortega. Let's go, baby. Let's go, Alexander Volkanovski. That's going to be such a good fight. And there's just so many different ways that I see that fight playing out. It's going to be so much fun to get AJ back on the show with us next week and break that one down. AJ, thank you so much for joining us today. Folks at home, you can find him on Twitter at AJMMA Betting, at AJMMABetting.com. That's where you get all of the juicy picks, all the good stuff. AJ, anything you want to add on that?
No, thanks for the plug, man. Yeah, I got a free newsletter up. I gave out my free recommendations for, proud sponsor of the websites, giving those out. I also have some paywall content, but I want to make sure that I'm giving out a nice, healthy mix of free content as well as paid content. So I'm not just a guy that, you have to pay to hear my opinion on fights. I think that's what's fair for all the people.
Well, there you go, folks. That's AJ MMA. I'm Connor Rowntree. You can find me on Twitter at SportsWithTree. As always, this was another edition of Monkey Knife Fight Live. Thank you so much for tuning into us.